everybody, I'm Danny Otto. Welcome into an all-new episode of That Recap Show. Now, in honor of the holiday season, we are going back and rewatching some of our holiday favorites. And this episode, we are going over the underrated holiday classic, 8 Crazy Nights. So without further ado, let's start the show!
Poppin' Off presents That Recap Show.
All right, joining with me to break down one of our favorite underrated holiday classics, it's Jon Jon Rico!
Hi, it's me, your underrated holiday classic.
We'll be breaking you down tonight.
Yeah, thank you. How we doing?
We're doing good. You know, look, the one thing that this is definitely helping with is it's getting me in the holiday spirit now that we're starting to watch all these, and not only watch those, like the ones that we're actually going through these retro recaps for, but other ones that we like, you know, really want to, if we were recording a ton of them, would have made the list. But like, so like I'm hearing your list and you're hearing some of the ones that I always want to watch it and stuff like that. So like it's getting me into the holiday spirit.
Right now. Feeling pretty jolly around these parts.
Right. And so like this was a surprise pick. I did not expect that this was going to be kind of top on anyone's list. This is right. Like this is closer on your list, and like just getting right into it. Like I'm going to be 100% honest. I haven't watched this in a few years. I watched it for the first time yesterday in a while, and look, still enjoyed it. Like I'm not saying that in a way of like I've stayed away from it for any reason like that. But one of the really cool things about kind of rewatching a movie that you haven't watched in a while is kind of remembering some of the things that like I thought about when I was had watched it for the first time. At least for me, like that's kind of what was happening. One of the biggest things after I finished it, remembered that I thought about this the first time I'd watched it, and I thought about it literally after I finished it, rewatching it yesterday, was I kind of really wish we had got a live action version of this. And look, I understand this was out in early 2000s. So I understand, you know, we had limitations for CGI, and we had limitations for some of the elements of this movie. So that probably wouldn't have been able to be recreated. And so, you know, certain things would have gotten lost. But I think, you know, we still could have pulled off a pretty decent movie. This is kind of for me at least, the way that I was watching this is basically like another Billy Madison type of thing, or a Billy Madison holiday fever dream, almost type of thing. Much. So like I was thinking of kind of like that, like viewing it like that in live action with having all of these, you know, cameos and having other people, you know, kind of play these parts and these roles that have been in, you know, all of the HappyMadison, you know, live action movies and stuff like that. I think we could have made it work. I think we could have made something, you know, still pretty special. At least that's what I thought. But Rico, what were some of your like initial impressions kind of rewatching this?
Yeah, this is definitely an underrated movie for me, for sure. I picked this solid, or pretty much because like it's not your typical holiday movie that you see on your you know, your top 5 list. That, you know, it's actually a movie that not a lot of people actually like very much, and it bombed in the box office too. So like not a lot of people saw it to begin with. But you know, this is definitely like that transitional period in Adam Sandler's career where he went from like the Happy Gilmore, like Billy Madison style humor that he was known for when he was younger, and then going from like when he was a little bit older, and we saw like the Mr. D's, the 51st Dates, Longest Yard. Like there's a different level of maturity that he plays in those characters, like in those movies. And this is kind of like that one last movie where he gets to be like the goofball Adam Sandler. You know, the way the character's drawn is like is basically young Adam
Billy
like
Madison.
and it's young Adam in his prime, like of youth, and clearly like the live action Adam was kind of like not that same guy anymore. But it was basically like it's a very personal story for him when you watch the movie back now as an adult. It brings a whole new perspective of the movie. Like as a kid, you loved all the silly jokes, you love Whitey being goofy and the deer and all the gross stuff and all that. But well, yeah, when you watch the movie as an adult, there's a surprisingly poignant message there. There's it's a movie about grief and kind of burying your grief, under the bottle, basically, which is the character that which Adam's character kind of does in this movie, and then he has to kind of grow out of that, right? And mixed in with some pretty like good songwriting as well, and a really nice animation. But there's a lot of cool stuff. It's Adam making movies with his friends, and also his family too, because his wife plays the female love interest in the movie, and then of course his parents actually voice the parents in the movie as well. And I think it's one of the last things that his dad did before his dad passed away in real life too.
Wow.
A few months later on as well. So there's a lot of there's a lot of stuff that has some there's some beautiful messaging behind this movie, because it's really just like a love letter to Adam's style of humor that he grew up liking, and what would make his family laugh. So yeah, I grew to appreciate it more as an adult.
Yeah, I mean that leads perfectly into my big takeaway. So you want to do some big takeaways?
Let's do it.
Awesome. All right, I'm gonna kick it off only because I think exactly what you were saying like leads perfectly into what I wanted to say. Like, look, we're not saying like this is like a masterpiece movie or anything like that. This is a holiday comedy with like old Adam Sandler humor and just some crude stuff with deer and like stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like if you made this for just him and his friends and no one else got to see it, this is what he would have made.
Right. But what I do really appreciate, and I appreciate it like just kind of like what you were saying, when we watched this when it came out and we were a lot younger, yeah, we were going with like the goofy jokes and the goofiness of the deer and just like that kind of stuff and that humor and stuff like that. But rewatching it now, there is what I really appreciate is there is that underlying heart that kind of all classic holiday movies have to have.
Mhm.
Like, you know what I mean? Like it's one of those things that has to have, like you have to make a holiday movie type of thing. Like you can have something, that on surface level, should be like a holiday movie, but if it doesn't have that, it doesn't have kind of like that heart element to it, it doesn't really feel the same. And this definitely has that. Like I'm not afraid to admit I teared up a little bit with like when we had like Whitey kind of breaking down at the end in the mall and stuff like that. I'm like, holy shit. Like
the intervention song with Davey in the
Yeah.
mall with all the store mascots it gets you when they open up the card at the end. That's all the mess that he never wanted to read from his parents as a young kid. He finally read it. And yeah, it's definitely it's got a ton of heart to it. But yeah, it's exactly it. There's a lot of stuff in there that definitely hits close to home in that movie. And just like you said, like it really nails it there at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, like I said, there may not be a ton that we can like differentiate from our takeaways, but do you like what were some of your takeaways from this movie? It doesn't even have to be big takeaways, but just some parts of this movie that you wanted to definitely like stood out and stuff like that.
Yeah, I got some praise for some of the technical aspects of this movie. One, the animation, it holds up to this day. There's some really smooth sequences, like the opening sequence with Davy's song, where he's talking about how much he hates people in the city and how he's kind of doing like his action sequences and stuff like that during it. It really well done sequence and a great song on top of it too. But the same studio that did The Iron Giant is the same studio that did this movie, and that was a cool little fact that I learned about. And when I look back at them, like there's definitely some like character models that look like the same. Like the little boy that he's kind of like hanging out with in the movie kind of reminds me of Hogarth from Iron Giant.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's pretty cool that like it still holds up to this day as far as the animation style. And of course, we need another like musical comedy written by Adam Sandler. I feel like a few years ago he had the comedy special where he played some songs, of course, and famously the Chris Farley song went viral. But this movie is also proof that like Sandler is a really good songwriter when on certain numbers. Like again, Davy's song at the beginning when he talks about hating Christmas, but he's really talking about just how he hates himself in the beginning. And then of course the song that's written at the end, the intervention song, is also great. And the bum bitty bitty bum bum song in the banquet hall is a great song as well. Bum bitty 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 bum bum. Bum bitty 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 bum. It's just that perfect like Adam Sandler delivery in his song where he does like the funny long talking and but it's we'll circle right back down. It's got the heart in the message. And of course the credits with the Hanukkah song in there too.
Yeah, that's my only. I was telling you this. That was my only thing, and I remember thinking the exact same thing the first time I watched it. I, as a very young child, heard the Adam Sandler Hanukkah song and loved it every year. And I was like, why is that not get incorporated into the movie? Like I wanted it so bad to be in the movie. And I mean, look, I get it. I got what I wanted. It's there in the credits and stuff like that. But I was like, why is it not there?
Right. Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I mean, there's so much the like, just like we both said, it's very underrated. Like I didn't stay away from this movie for any particular reason, but it was just like one of those things where like when you picked it for our retro recaps for the holidays and stuff like that, I was like, oh, that's a cool choice. Like I hadn't watched it in a while. It was
outside the box.
Right. It was fun kind of being able to revisit it. And that was kind of like, it was, because I feel like at certain points we get into, our rut of these are the movies that I'm going to watch every year type of thing. And maybe something new comes out. Like, last year we had, the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special and stuff like that. Like some things will come out.
Millions of people have talked about Elf.
Right. And that's one of the movies that I watch every year. Like that, that's on my list. That's on my list. I'm glad.
A lot has been said about it.
Right. I'm glad we kind of stayed away from that. But and because like I said, I am definitely one that I will, I stick in the box of, I've got to watch these few movies. If I happen to have extra time, I'll watch a couple here and there, but they're still kind of the same,
rotation.
Yeah. Kind of on there. So this was it was fun to kind of add something that I hadn't watched in a few years type of thing to my list, and so it was really interesting. So I mean, everybody out there, if you're watching, definitely comment below like what are some movies that are on your list, because it never hurts to kind of share, especially if like there are different movies that we're not obviously recapping, and maybe that aren't on kind of the tops of our list, and maybe it's a chance for us to kind of revisit some of the older, like another one that you keep mentioning was Love Actually. I've never seen that.
Great movie
type of thing. Yeah, same thing. So I think it's really cool. Normally we would do predictions here, and this is where it's always a little awkward for the retro recaps, because I mean, I obviously, because this was made in the early 2000s, we know there's no follow up to this, but
right.
Do you have in an alternate dimension like what you would have liked to see as a follow up to this movie type of thing?
Yeah. Well, the great thing about this movie is that you could still do a sequel to it today if Adam really wanted to. Yeah. But what story you would tell, I think, is probably like if you wanted to do the same characters, of course, like Davy. Like where is Davy at 20 years later? I guess after that, like. Did something happen in his life that made him spiral back into an asshole again, and he's got to find the spirit back again. And of course, I don't know if you would just go like not much time has passed, so you can keep characters like Whitey and Eleanor in there as well. So yeah, I don't know what I would want from this movie. Like again, part of me wants to see like that 20-year jump and maybe like see Davy as like the new Whitey or something like that, or if he's maybe even further than that because he'd be a lot older, right? But and of course I forget the name of the little boy, but maybe you could do something with that character as well. Like there's a lot of different avenues you can actually take the story going forward. Yeah, I would, anything would be great, I think, honestly.
Yeah, it would be really cool. It would
more musical numbers. More music from Adam, I think would be great too. Like this would be a great avenue for him to channel like good songwriting again.
Right. Yeah. There would have to, I can't even think of like what the conflict would be type of thing. I would just like to see the characters again. type of thing.
Yeah.
Just like you said, like where like we pick up, really recent, like maybe a couple years down the line. And, now we have Davey kind of with his new family and we kind of see what family life is and stuff like that. But I get it. I want to see a conflict. But yeah, I don't know if I'd want to go like the 20-year gap, only because I enjoyed Whitey as a character. And
that's what makes it hard to me to
Right.
decide, like whether you just go, okay, it's been like a couple of years, Whitey's still around, you be a little bit older, but he's still there and they're still goofy.
Him and his sister, I want to see them soaking their feet.
I want to see them being like respected by the city and how that's going on. Yeah.
Maybe he becomes mayor. Maybe Whitey is mayor.
Jump.
Yeah. Somehow Whitey is mayor.
From a patched referee to mayor.
Well, he had to retire as referee, so maybe like something happened and he retired and everybody still respected him so much they were like, well, what are you gonna do next? And he was like, I think I'm gonna run for mayor.
Yeah.
And
doing all those odd jobs, and now he's like, okay, time to be mayor.
Everybody has to pay him back for doing all of those odd jobs, and so
there we go. There's the story right there. It's about Whitey's run for mayor.
Sandler, call us, Sandler. We'll write the script.
Lock it in.
But anyway, that's what we think. Let us know in the comments below. Have you seen 8 Crazy Nights? And, where is it on your holiday movie list? Is this, going to be kind of like the situation with me where you haven't watched it in a few years. And after watching this, you kind of want to, relive that, bring back to the early 2000s Adam Sandler comedy and musical numbers and stuff like that. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to hear about all of our latest audio and video podcast releases. Bye, everybody!
Poppin' Off presents That Recap Show.